Hello peoples, here we are again. We're at where we left off, EICK Cork, and today we're going to fly to EIKY Kerry. I'm going to do that along the coast actually, so that should be quite nice. Nice coastal flight down to Baltimore Beacon. We're going to fly past some islands, have a look at those. We've also got a mountain to look at actually, Mont Gabriel. And then we're going to fly down to another lighthouse. Fastnet we're going to go to. It says Fastnet Lighthouse there, right, but when you go down there you can't actually see Fastnet Lighthouse. It's a bit weird. But yeah, well, I'll show you a picture of that because it looked good, but when we got down there it wasn't actually the right place. So we'll have a look anyway, and we're going to go over basically the rugged part of Ireland, the nice south coast. We're going to go down to Rosscastle on the way to Kerry Airport, mate. So yeah, it should be good fun. Let's give it a go. Getting older plane. I've got some good stories to tell you today as well. I was trying to find some interesting stuff to talk about. Yeah, should be good. I actually found just by accident. Basically, there was this guy called Richard Usher who was messing around in Ireland, back in the early 19th century, like 1904, and between 1904 and 1912 he was like doing, trying to dig up old bones and all that. What's that called? Paleontologist or something like that. But yeah, he discovered some bones right in this cave. Just tell you this while I'm getting the plane ready. Yeah, in this cave called what was the name of that cave? Poop Castle Cave, which is in County Clare actually, which is sort of towards where we're going to be going, probably on the next flight, or it's basically on the west side of Ireland. But yeah, he found these like old bones in this cave, sort of like, people have been like living there years and years ago, and some of the bones are like deer bones, and they've got like when you cut like the meat off the bone, you've got like marks off the whatever they've cut it with. You could see the marks of it, like, so obviously done by humans, because you don't get those sort of marks with animal teeth or anything like that. And so they had this it was a femur bone, and they took it back to the lab, and when they did their old carbon dating test on it, it came back 33,000 years old. Can you believe that? So basically that means that humans were living in Ireland, and we have proof of that, up to 33,000 years ago. But actually, like, if you go to England, right, in England, believe it or not, right, in England there are some footprints there which are coming up for 1 million years old, like 850,000 years, 850,000 years. So more than likely, apparently there were land bridges back then. So like, especially like when there was an ice age and like the sea would freeze over, so people could get over from England and Scotland, Wales, into Ireland. But yeah, that's the sort of best proof we've got of the oldest proof of humanity on Ireland 33,000 years ago. Anyway, so I did some digging about, and I found some interesting little things to tell you about today. So like, for instance, there's some, believe it or not, Ireland has had a couple of tsunamis. Would you believe that? Natural disasters. and a near miss with an asteroid. Tell you all about that. And we're going to fly out to the coast now, so we'll just get that going. Beautiful, lovely Irish countryside. Look, it's looking a bit cloudy. I hope it doesn't start raining today, but hopefully we'll be okay. I'm going to fly down the coast, and I'm going to tell you about also. I was like, just trying to find out. So I thought, you know, we're going down into sort of a bit of wilderness, so it sort of brought the thought of, like, you know, the Irish folklore. And actually, right, talking about folklore, right, I found out that, right, Cork, you know, which we were flying over last time, Cork, it's got a university, right, and they've got an urban project centre for Irish folklore, called the Irish Folklore Project, right, and apparently folklore, right, that phrase was coined in 1846, which is the same year that they started building Cork University. So that's good, isn't it? Like, basically the building that they study the folklore in Cork University is as old as folklore itself, if you like. So yeah, 1846 that they coined that phrase.
Is type Cessna Caravan 5 miles southeast of Cork, 1,600 feet. Request clearance to transition Charlie airspace.
So I've basically gone through and I've found out, like, all the sort of prime fairies, so to speak, the Fae folk of Ireland. Right, we've got some of those to tell you about. We're going to fly down to Baltimore Beacon along the coast.
Cleared through the Charlie airspace, Cessna
and on the
X-ray
way,
Sierra.
we're going to visit, I can't remember the mountain which I did say, because apparently that's got some, like, ancient, sort of, you know, really ancient mining. Like, they used to mine, you know, I think even gold they used to mine there, and they used to mine tin. I think got most of the tin from Cornwall, but, like, they had some tin over here as well. And copper, a lot of copper. So we'll have a look at that. We're going to fly over, as we go down, there's these islands, like, for instance, Scheme Island, and I'm not sure how you pronounce that, but yeah, so we'll have a look at those islands, where, and, like, we'll talk about this. Other thing I found out was this guy who was basically born in England, but he came over, you know, back in, like, the 1800s, when they first originally, like, discovered cameras and they started taking photographs, believe it or not, back in the 1800s. Right, and I found out about this chap who took a load of photographs around Ireland back, like, over 100 years ago. So I've dug out some of these photographs, so we can have a look at that. And he's got an interesting story as well, so it's like a bit of a, I don't know if some, well, you can decide for yourself, like, it's a, I suppose it's a disappearance murder mystery-ish thing, right? But yeah, as we're coming towards the sea now, right, along the coast, I thought I'd tell you about this thing, right? Basically Cork, right, they had a tsunami. And yeah, I'll just say, like, look, there's a chap called Finn Duart, right, and he's got a podcast, Irish History Podcast. So I was looking for some stuff about Ireland, and I come across his podcast. Apparently he's written a book about Irish history, but he's done it through, like, 18 different murders around Ireland. So I don't know if we can find out some about those stories. You might have to actually buy his book, I'm not sure, but he's written a book in 2023. With these murders in it, but he was doing this little bit of history about, like, it's just a little podcast. So if you wanted to check his channel, it's Irish History Podcast. But yeah, basically he was telling about these tsunamis on this like one thing that I had a look at. So I was like, tsunamis in Ireland? That's a bit crazy. But yeah. So apparently there's been a couple, right? Apparently there's one recorded, or sort of, you know, I don't know how they recorded it, but apparently they know about this earthquake that happened. It's probably not from there, but it apparently came with a tsunami to Ireland, right, in 720. 720, well, that would be the 8th century, 720. Yeah, there was an earthquake, and apparently it hit Ireland, but there's not really much records about that one, so we don't know how bad that was. We just know it happened, but we do know more about the next one, right, which was apparently in November 1755 off the west coast of Portugal near Lisbon City, right. Well, it was off the coast, it was in the depths of the Atlantic Ocean, right, and there was an earthquake, and apparently it was quite a big one. It measured like up to 9 on the Richter scale, like 8 to 9, which is a really big one, and apparently it devastated that Lisbon City in Portugal. Basically it triggered a tsunami in the Atlantic, just well off the coast of Portugal, as I say. But unfortunately for the people who survived the initial earthquake in Lisbon, like, because the buildings started falling down, obviously a lot of people got killed, and all the buildings were unstable. I mean, they didn't have, like, you know, anti-earthquake buildings back then. They would just get, you know, devastated. So that, because of it, like there was in the city, and there's all these buildings falling down, they went sort of, all the people sort of, you know, tried to find more open spaces, and apparently the harbour was more open space, and a lot of the people of the city went to the harbour, you know, because the buildings were falling down, so, which was a bad move, because, well, they didn't know, obviously they didn't know that back then, but apparently a tsunami was on the way, and when it hit the city, right, they reckon up to 60% of the whole population of Lisbon got killed, right, but that's down in Portugal. But this earthquake was that big, right, it was felt thousands of miles away around the globe, and the tsunami hit Spain's coast, and then it went on down France and onto England, right, and then to Ireland. But the thing is, with Ireland, like the other ones, the tsunamis in England and Spain and that, they weren't as bad, even though we're, you know, they're closer to the epicentre, but there's, you know, the coast, it washed along the European coast, and bits stick out, and it breaks the tsunami up and gives it lesser, you know, it loses some energy. But with Ireland, because there's nothing but water between the epicentre of this quake and southern Ireland, like this part of Ireland, it was really bad, apparently, and apparently it devastated Cork Harbour, and like, see, like where we are now, if you look now, like, I mean, you can imagine, like, see, like Ireland, it just sort of gradually comes up out the sea, you know, it's not like, there's not really big cliffs, so like a lot of the places, it, like, islands start coming up, you know, the land rises up slowly and it comes out of the sea, so like a tsunami will just wash up right into the, you know, like apparently a load of people were like, there's a lot of fishing around this area, do you know what I mean, so all those boats, they got washed onto the dry land, and you know, back then you can imagine, you know, you got a big boat, or just a wooden boat just thrashing about and getting dumped on the land, you know, it devastated the trade and killed a lot of people. It was in the papers, and apparently it even devastated Cork Harbour, so that's quite interesting, I thought. And you wouldn't think it, would you, to think about Ireland? But yeah, that's one thing that happened, so that's pretty amazing. But apparently it happened in 2 stages, like, because when that earthquake went, it disrupted the, like, apparently disrupted the floor of the ocean around Ireland as well. I'm not quite sure, something to do with the geology of it, so it ended up having like 2, like a smaller one which is off its own sea floor, and then a couple of hours later the main one came in. So yeah, wouldn't think that for wouldn't have thought that sort of thing would happen in Ireland. You don't think about Ireland and natural disasters like that, do you? But yeah. Oh, another one, right? Another one as well, right? This one's really quite interesting, right? Wednesday, June the 30th, right, 1908 in the evening. It's 10:45 evening, right? Everyone's come home from work. You know, sitting by the fire, probably just having a, you know, a supper or something, getting ready to go to bed. Basically, it's middle of the week. It's a Wednesday, right? And back then, everything's pitch black back then. Do you know what I mean? And just as they're about to go to bed, all of a sudden, all across Ireland, right, the sky lights up like a massive, as if it's daylight. It's like that light, you know. It's like almost midday daylight for about 5 to 10 seconds, right? And everyone saw it all across Ireland. Lots of the papers wrote about it, and didn't really know what it was at the time. But you know, it was like, did you see what happened last night? You know, 10:45. It was pitch black, and suddenly it was as if the sun came up for 10 seconds or so. You know, I've never known anything like it. You know, and obviously they were quite superstitious back then as well. But apparently what it was, right, and they did find out, but basically it was this meteor, right, and I don't know if you've ever heard of Tunguska, which is in
Squawk
Russia.
7000. Frequency change approved.
But basically
Cessna
what had
X-ray
happened,
Golf
right,
Sierra. Shannon Center Cessna Alpha Sierra
it was a
X-ray Golf
piece
Sierra is type
of
Cessna
this
Caravan,
main
7 miles southeast
meteor
of Echo
that
India
hit
Charlie
Tunguska,
Bravo, 1,600 feet.
and apparently it
Request
exploded
flight
in the
following.
atmosphere off the coast of Ireland, right, so it basically come down across like France, across England, across London, and that sort of way, well, England, and then on
Squawk
into
0426 Cessna X-ray Golf
across
Sierra.
Ireland, and then out to into the Atlantic before it exploded. But apparently it was only like a chunk of this Tunguska meteor, and I reckon it was about 50 metres to 100 metres across.
Roger Cessna X-ray Golf Sierra.
But yeah, I mean, that was like a near miss for civilization, really, Western civilization back then. Because like the main part of that meteor basically flattened 2,000 square kilometres of forest into Tunguska, Russia, right? But that's like a remote part of the globe, you know. It only killed 3 people. It flattened 2,000 square miles. Well, 3 people they know about. If anybody was out there, they were dead. You know, animals, trees, everything flattened. But I reckon, right, this meteor was estimated to be 50 to 100 metres across, the bit that broke off. But luckily, only these 3 people were killed in Russia. But they reckon, right, in the papers they reckoned, if it had hit London, for instance, well, you can only imagine the devastation that would have happened there. The impact would have been like heard across Europe. Apparently, they said in the paper that it would have been heard as far as Switzerland, and they said it would have been seen approaching to London. Like, imagine, this is like if it hit London. This is like they were speculating that how we were lucky it didn't, you know, and it so could have done. It really could have done that, but luckily it didn't. But they were saying like that if it did, you know, that the people in London would have been looking up at the sky and saw this like big bright ball coming towards them from halfway across France. And they said like people in Glasgow and Edinburgh would have had their hats knocked off. It would have stripped topsoil from as far afield as into Cheshire. Trains would have been derailed all across central England, and people as far away as Oxford would have been thrown through the air and severely burnt. It would have destroyed London as far out as the M25, and a column of smoke would have risen 20 miles above London. Yeah, they also reckoned, right, that had that happened, right, that would have been literally, I mean, it was the British Empire back then. I reckon if that had actually happened, that would have been, in one single stroke, the end of the British Empire. And it would have immediately killed, as well, 11 million people that lived around London in the surrounding areas at that time, like dead straight away. And then obviously he's struggling to grow food and all the rest of it. It would have literally brought, God knows what, history would have been different, wouldn't it? But yeah, that's how close it came. It's crazy. Right, so as we like here now, like, I mean, you can imagine that tsunami coming up in these hitting the side of this coast. I mean, it's not like great big high tall cliffs. It just gradually comes up, doesn't it? You know, you've got all these little islands people would fish on and all this, you know. But yeah, actually, talking about the fishermen, and I've got to show you, I've got to tell you about this guy who was a photographer, because there's some great photos of like the olden days I've dug up. Yeah, basically, let me just get my notes here. Yeah, so basically the strange disappearance of Arthur H. Paul, who's like a leading Irish photographer. I say Irish in sort of, I don't know, he wasn't Irish, but he lived in Ireland. He basically emigrated to Ireland, which is a bit strange for those times. Usually it was people leaving Ireland, especially, you know, after the potato famine. Yeah, but apparently he disappeared without a trace in 1928 at the age of 72. So it's like a strange disappearance. But there's a bit more to it than that. But he was born in England, right, 1855, roughly around then. They were a bit crap with the dates back then, but they reckon he was born in England around 1855, right? And he moved to Waterford in Ireland, which is like, we flew over that last time, but he went round taking photographs all across like this part of Ireland. And yeah, he moved in the sort of 1880s, maybe a bit before that, which is pretty unheard of back then. Like I say, people would be like leaving Ireland back in those sort of eras, because the famine that happened from 1845 to 1851, so like over 1.5 million people left and, you know, went to America, and a load of them went to England as well. You know, it was moving away at that time, but he moved into Ireland, which was a bit strange. But I've got some photographs to take you, show you, like. But this Arthur Paul, right, he became a leading citizen in Waterford, right, and it was that like prominent, and he got that wealthy from like this new sort of fangled gadget. Like he was probably one of the first people to ever do like proper photography. You could go and get get ordered to come and do stuff, but he would just take photographs, and I suppose people would buy these photographs. I don't know, but yeah, he's got a lot of photos from back then, so I'm going to show you some of those. Like, for instance, let's see if I've got a photo of him. For instance, like this one, look, it's of a smoking room. And apparently they know the date. It was taken on Sunday, the 24th of April, 1898, and that's somebody's smoking room. There's a bit of a story about this guy as well. Like, here's another one, like paddle steamer, taken in 1874. he flew over Dungarvie, right, in 1906. He took a photograph of Blackwater Cider Company. And inside the factory, pulping the apples. Same 1906, as I say. It would take like wedding photos as well, especially for the more prominent people. Here's one from 1901. Apparently, somebody tried to grow some tobacco in Ireland, right? 1913. Somebody knew or whatever, but I bet he took a photograph of it, right? But what happened was the frost came and ruined it. Here's one of a shop, Mosley shop, 1890. This one's from. And if you're wondering, we're just coming to our first point of interest, I think, actually, which is are we? Yeah, I think we might have just flew past it, so I'm going to turn around and go back and have a look. What I'm turning around. Here's a picture of Arthur and his children from 1900. Baltimore Beacon we should have got. We should have just flown past Baltimore Beacon. As you can see, it's like a white painted stone beacon. So this is like the, as you can see, like coming up here through here into this bit. The harbour of Baltimore, right? Baltimore Beacon is the harbour of Baltimore. But basically, what the crack is, County Cork, Ireland. The beacon was built around. There was like beacons built around and lighthouses built all around, right, Ireland, which was ordered by the British government following the 1798 rebellion. Apparently they put up a load of lighthouses and beacons all around Ireland. It's supposed to form like a warning system. We should be able to have a little flyby yet. There it is down there, look. You see it? I'll probably have a closer look. all these islands, you see, there's a lot of fisher folk. A lot of fisher folk around these places. You can imagine how many people lived on these islands, you can see. A lot of old people would, you know, do the old fishing. Apparently, like, the priest would bless the boats, believe it or not, before they went out fishing or just, you know, whatever they were doing on the waters. I suppose a lot of people got drowned and stuff, and yeah, these yeah, blessing of the boats. Look at these islands, look. Yeah, fishermen had their own like fairy folklore. They had like a, yeah, one of those, you know, I was talking about the Fae. Some fishermen folklore from fishermen around the coast of Cork. Apparently they got like this, you know, like mermaids. Well, they would call them the merrow. And apparently the male merrow had got a scaly skin and hooks with which they could pull you down. Any unsuspecting fisherman who's not paying attention could get dragged down to the icy depths by the male merrow, sort of male mermaids, mermaid people, if you like. But the female merrow, however, are supposed to have been like beautiful human women. They look just like human women, but they've got like a red cap that allows them to go into the waters and dive down into the depths and, you know, be able to breathe under there and stuff like that. And they reckoned if the fisherman was ever to catch one of these merrow women and take their hat, you know, if he managed to snatch their hat off them, he would be able to take one of these beautiful merrow, not mer, keep going to call them mermaids, but they're like merrow. These merrow maids, if you like. He could take them as his wife. This is like a superstition they had. But they reckon like that they would always pine for the sea. But they would like really fall in love with their husband, you know. But they would still pine for the sea. And they reckoned if she ever managed to get her hat back, she got her cap back, she would basically drag her husband back into the sea and to the bottom of the depths with her for a watery grave, because she couldn't stand the thought of leaving him behind. Here's this mountain I was telling you about. Right, so let me find my notes on this. Got a load of notes here. Right, so basically, they discovered copper in this area, County Cork and Kerry, right around 2000 BC, and that influenced the start of a thriving metalworking trade in Ireland. A skill for and craftsmanship in metalwork became renowned around the Western Europe, right? I reckon from Cork and Kerry, like this area, they produced like up to 370 tons of Irish copper. But we're talking prehistoric mines here, so like they apparently there's like, for instance, that mountain that we were just flying around, that's got apparently 25 mine caps clustered around it, Mount Gabriel. and they date back from 1500 BC up to 1180 BC. And apparently the Irish were like really good at bronze working, which is like a mixture of copper and tin, and also gold. They found gold there as well, so there was a lot of like Irish gold and stuff. And I think that like reflects on the old you know, the leprechauns. That's another fairy, the old leprechauns, right? And the pot of gold, you know, the old leprechauns. Because apparently, like that, they did have a lot of gold, right? And they would bury this gold, you know, back in the ancient times. They would like, there's like loads of gold treasure hoards being found around Ireland, and that's probably got something to do with the leprechaun sort of tales, you know. But apparently a lot of leprechauns, right, nowadays they're represented in green, but originally they were always seen in red. But the leprechauns are supposed to be like the protectors of all these treasures that's been buried, all these golden hoards. So that's where that comes from. But like that, they reckon like this is like, you know, the fairy lore of Ireland, that like leprechauns are extremely hard to catch and hard to see, right? And if you do happen to see one, you can't take your eyes off them for a second, because boosh, they'll vanish right before your eyes. Therefore, they reckon like a better strategy is to be a kindly person to a leprechaun. If you ever see a leprechaun, you've got to be kind to it. Don't try and catch it, chase it around the garden or anything like that. Because like apparently there's an old story, right? This in the olden days, you know, back when it was all horse-drawn carriages and lanterns, and you know, proper countryside. There was a gentleman, and he was in his coach, and he was going along the road one night, and it come to like evening, and he come across this leprechaun who looked like tired out, and so he poked his head out of his coach, and he says, "Oh, you look tired." He says, "Come on, my friend, why don't you come on board and take a ride, rest your weary feet for a while?" To which the leprechaun apparently agreed, climbed on board, and they smoked a pipe together and rode for a couple of hours. And when the leprechaun had had his fair rest, he bid him farewell, jumped out and disappeared off into the night. Poof, in front of his eyes. Anyway, the next day when the old man returned, the old kindly gentleman returned to his house, he opened the door, and as he opened the door, heaps of gold fell out that had been left on his porch and in his hallway by the leprechaun. So if you see a leprechaun, make sure you're kindly. This Fastnet Lighthouse, right, so this says Fastnet Lighthouse, right, but this is Fastnet Lighthouse. It's in the middle of the ocean. That is not Fastnet Lighthouse. There's I don't know why they've called it that. It's blatantly not. That is actually, is it Mizzen Head? That is Mizzen Head, right? Like Fastnet, this is, I suppose this is Fastnet around here, but like that lighthouse called Fastnet Lighthouse, is it out in the ocean somewhere? You know, I couldn't actually see where it is. Maybe, I mean, maybe they've just posted it. Maybe it's out there somewhere, but I couldn't see it, so we just go around Mizzen Head instead. Have a nice look at it anyway. There is like a proper facility there. You can see, got a bridge and a proper building. It is a lighthouse, but it's Mizzen Head Lighthouse, not Fastnet Lighthouse, which is a bit weird. proper rugged, isn't it, around here? It's real old, you know, you can imagine why all these fairy stories came up. Yeah, so I was not looking at, can't actually see. If I could have saw like a bit of a lighthouse sticking up in the ocean close to here, I'd have fly over to it, but I couldn't see it, so we'll carry on down the coast. I'll show you some more pictures from this chap I was telling you about, Arthur. Yeah, there's a bit of a story that goes with this guy actually, Arthur Paul. Like I say, he became a leading citizen of Waterford. You know, got quite wealthy. Apparently lived at number 3, the Mall, which is like, if you go there today, it's like a big red, I think it's part of the like hotel and pub, you know. So it was a big old house back then, but that's where he used to live. A prominent house, like, was doing very well with this photography business. But basically, like, this guy all gets a bit... Nobody really knows what happened, but I'll tell you the story. Like, they had a maid, right, called Margaret. Margaret Reddy, her name was. And she was 24 years old, this maid. Right, and on the 2nd of December 1910, right, this maid would often go out for a walk at night, like after her duties, and, you know, she'd go and take the air, as they used to say back then. And she'd go for a walk. But this one day on the 2nd of December 1910, like, she said she was going for a walk and then didn't come back, and there was like no traces of her were found. Like, they were looking for her everywhere, but I couldn't find any clues whatsoever. But she lived off the shores of Mooncoin, which is not, you know, it's probably a good, I mean, this guy was quite wealthy, so he did have like one of the first early cars, if you like, and apparently he went for a drive over to Mooncoin the following day to try and see, you know, her relatives and say, have you seen Margaret, where is she, she's gone, disappeared. But that was like, you know, he didn't need to do that, and that's like a 3-hour drive there, a 3-hour drive back, you know, that's a whole day. But not that anyone thought anything about it at the time. But yeah, about 18 months later, off the shores of Mooncoin, so roughly where, you know, we were just talking about, they find this skull, right? And not that they had DNA back then, but this skull had got like a bit of red hair, apparently still attached, the same as this Margaret's colour, and also a cleft chin, the same as Margaret had. So the authorities have found this and sort of put 2 and 2 together and thought, well, I wonder if this missing maid, this is like where she came from. Although she didn't go disappearing here, maybe she come back this way, and maybe did she commit suicide or something? But what happened was, right, this Arthur, right, his wife went to the doctors. What's his wife's name? Lily, I think. Let me just see if I can find it in my notes. Oh yeah, Lily Poole. She went to the doctor, right, and apparently the doctor, in conversation at the time, because this was just after she'd like disappeared, started talking to her about this maid Margaret, and he said he had something to tell her. Basically, if she did come back, he should get rid of her. Because you know how it's the stigma of being pregnant back then. It was like, you know, wasn't right, but that's the way it was back then. And this doctor was basically telling this Lilliput that she's no good because apparently she was, he didn't know for definite, but she was possibly pregnant, and that's why she'd gone to see the doctor, and he told her that. So then they were sort of thinking, well, she's not married, she's got pregnant, maybe she's run away, until they found this skull, and then they're like, oh, maybe she committed suicide. So that's sort of what happened there. But obviously that Arthur had driven over there, then they find this skull. Anyway, that was sort of 18 months after, so 2 years after, they have an inquest, and apparently this Arthur had got a couple, you know, some of her personal belongings, which included 2 letters, right, 2 sealed letters, right, and he gave them to police, and they were like, why didn't you give us these before? And he's like, well, you didn't ask me, and I'd sort of forgotten about them. And they're like, well, what's in the letters? And he's like, well, I haven't read them, they're sealed. So they nobody knows whether or not he did, but he'd had these letters for 2 years, right, and hadn't handed them in. And then apparently one of them was like a suicide note, but you know, who knows, was it? But later on, about, so that would have been like around 1912, but apparently later on, when Arthur was like 72, right, 1928, and he's getting on a bit, obviously, you know, living till 72 back then was a big thing, but he said he was going to go off for a drive, right, to Tramore, right, is it, I'm off to have a drive around Tramore and I'll see you later, and he left a note for his wife saying that he's going to do that, and he was never seen again. He disappeared, and basically it's sort of suggested that maybe the guilt, maybe he'd done something to Margaret, who nobody knows. It's a big mystery, and they're like, did somebody find out and murder him, or did he become overwhelmed with guilt? I find it hard to believe, but he was never seen again. He totally disappeared. And but there's more to it than that, because apparently, like, his son later on had ordered this fireplace, and he kept putting stuff on the old, you know, when you go to the shop and you put it on the bill. But his dad had died, right? So this is like a couple of years earlier. Well, not died, he'd gone missing. So he wasn't officially dead yet. He'd just gone missing. So they still had this bill. He bought this fire grate and put it on his dad's bill, and then never paid for it. And then he fell out with his mother, and apparently it all went to court. But it was about the missing. It was just about payment for this grate. But apparently he said, "Oh, well, if we all get dragged through court, maybe the truth will come out." Like talking about his dad, and it sort of suggested that maybe they knew more than they were giving on. But nobody knows, and that's the mystery. But I'll show you some more of these pictures. Oh, here's a great one. Ballybrick Fair, right, 1890. Check this out, look. The first ever sort of cinema. Like, they probably just had a roll of film or something, but like, yeah. That's crazy, isn't it? Look at that. That was 1890. They had fairs, and then Ballybrick Fair. So that's Ballybrick Fair. Is that the same one? I'll show them both anyway. Might get big getting. Oh yeah. It was 1901. Sorry, this is yeah, that was 1901. This photo. Ballybrick Fair was 1890, but they used to have fairs, like. So yeah, cinema from the Electric Living Pictures. Edison's latest discovery, 1901. Crazy, look at that. Here's a steamer from 1923. while we fly across this bay. You ever heard of glamping when you go to, like, I don't know, you go to a festival or something and you get like a really posh tent? This is glamping from 1918. Caravan, not a tent, but you know. Some nice views around here though, isn't there? Waterford Quay Clock Tower, 1870. Of course, they used to like pick cockles like around here as well. They'd go off the coast, these women, and pick cockles, cockle pickers from 1890. These are all from Ireland, obviously. And as we like by the sea, standing on the shore, 1890. Quite a few of these are from 1890. It's a house from 1922. It's like a nice house actually. Must be a well-to-do people to own that back then. Paddle steam in 1900. Now, here's a boat captured by the Free State Forces, 1923. Just interesting. Quite rugged, isn't it? The countryside, lovely, mountains and stuff. Getting a bit more cloudy. I hope it don't start raining. Looks like it might start raining. As long as it don't come down too. I mean, we're not going to go up too high, but if it comes down too low, it might spoil the views. Hopefully not. I'm going to go and see this castle in a bit, so I want to be able to see that. Oh look, health and safety from 1932. Look at that. Look at them up on there. Some of it's painted in like that because they paint. I don't know if you noticed, like on some of the pictures, you can see like if you look at their face, it's almost as if they're painting the face and they haven't quite got the angle of the light right, and it don't look quite right. But yeah, still interesting though. Look at that. Playing golf, 1907. Because obviously there's quite a few golf courses around Ireland, isn't there, these days? But yeah, that obviously goes back quite a long way. 1907 there. And obviously it was all about horses back then. Horses, 1904. Oh, and trains, yeah. Steam train built in 1855. Apparently this one was in service all the way through till 1936. And the only reason it got decommissioned is because it got derailed and like damaged, and that's when they put it to rest, as they would say. Nice views up here, look at those lakes just like on the top of these mountains. Yeah, Ballybricken, 1880. Got a few more of his photographs left, so some more photographs to show you, so we'll do that in a bit. because like this is the sort of place when you want to talk about.
500.
I mean, look at it. You can imagine why they're thinking about fairies and stuff like that as all these things going round. But so yeah, some fairies, right? Some of the famous ones. I hadn't heard of this one before. It's called a grokotch, right? It's like a naked, red, hairy or furry little old man, or looks like a little old man. And apparently they can go invisible, but you know there's one around because they stink. Their personal hygiene apparently is terrible. But if you gain the Grokut's trust, apparently they'll serve you and do like all your housework for you, and all you got to do, so the legend goes, is give them a jug of cream once per week as a payment. But you can't ever miss payment because they'll just desert you. That's why apparently that's why Irish people always say you should never judge a person by his appearance, because these Fae folk, these Groka, they look terrible and smell terrible, but they can be really kindly and nice and do, you know, serve your household. Nice view of the mountain there. And then there's the puka, apparently, the puka,
Shannon Center, Cessna
P-O-O-K-A.
Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra.
They're shapeshifters.
Request clearance to transition Charlie airspace.
They can turn into apparently all sorts of animals, birds, squirrels, foxes, cats, even
Clear
people.
to Charlie airspace.
They can
Cessna
turn into
X-Ray Golf
people.
Sierra.
And the Irish say that you may have met one, and the only way you can tell, because they're that good at changing their shape, is by their dark colouring and bright yellow eyes. Apparently their favourite shape is a dark black stallion, and it's their favourite shape to wear. And they don't like people who are like mean people, and they especially like to torture mean people, and especially drunken people. And apparently, like, their favourite trick is like basically turning into like a dark horse on the side of a road. So imagine you're a lonely drunk and you're just coming home for a walk back to your old place, and you come across this lovely dark horse welcoming you to climb on board, give you a ride home. So you stagger up and pull yourself up on this horse, but little do you know it's really a puka, and he'll take you on a wild horse ride across the mountains where we are. I've just been flying through, and up like really big steep cliffs, and he'll jump across ravines and valleys up and down and take you on a wild ride. The idea being to frighten you off to death, and when he's had his fun he'll dump you miles from home. And apparently they can tell the future, but you don't really want to be asking them that, because they might tell you your future demise. So yeah, that's not very good. But if you're kind to them, like if you're a kindly farmer for instance, and you leave him a part of your crop, the puka will protect the fields. That's the puka. Another Fae folk. And here's Rosscastle, look. So we'll have a look at this. Rosscastle. It was, when they built it up like this, surrounded by marshy bogs when it was first originally built, and obviously it's right by this lock. Yeah, it's built in the 15th century at the side of this lock.
500.
It's a medieval tower, right? Obviously, 15th century. And this is Loch Liani. And this is it's in Killarney National Park. This is the national park, this is, of Ireland. So it's built in the late 15th century, as I say, by the O'Donoghue clan. They were medieval warriors called Fian, and these Fian would fight barefooted. reckoned it gives them more, I don't know, versatility, and probably almost a religious meaning to it, like martial arts, you know, something like that. But yeah, apparently they would all walk around and fight in bare feet. Here we go, here it is. And there's a myth that the O'Donoghue can once turned away a wary travelling woman, and this woman turned out to be a witch. And as she was walking away, because they didn't, like, she was asking for some food and they just turned her away. Well, apparently she cursed them, saying the clan would perish and lose all its wealth and standing in the area, and the castle would eventually fall into Loch Lean and sink beneath the waters of Loch Lean. I mean, it's still standing, but apparently the clan, they did have bad luck, and I reckon that was all down to this curse. But the castle's still standing, so that's good. So yeah, there's also the Banshee. The Banshee Fae, that, like, going back to the Fae folk stories, there's the Banshee, sometimes an old crone, sometimes a beautiful woman apparently, wrapped in a cloak, and it's said that their wail is a death warning for a family member, so like, you don't want to be hearing that. Not only is apparently like a terrible, most terrible sound that you could ever hear as a human being, but it also marks the coming death of somebody in your family, so that's like the drastically don't want to hear sound of any Irishman or woman. So you don't want to be coming across one of those on a dark country, dusky or evening night. And then there's the, oh look, it is starting to rain. We'll be coming into the airport soon. I'll just tell you about the Dullan. So the Dullan, Dullan, is the Irish Reaper, Death himself actually. So that's a fight. Even worse than the Banshee. You don't want to be meeting this guy, because he rides a horse and carries his own head under his arm, and apparently it glows green. Like a mouldy cheese, and enables him to see for miles, like further than normal humans can see. And if you accidentally come across him on the road, you've got to be wary of him, like, because he'll whip you, and he's got this whip made of human spine. This guy's terrifying. Apparently, if he hits you with it, he'll blind you in one eye, and if you're lucky, the only thing he'll do then is dump a bucket of blood over your head. Sometimes he can be seen in a coach made of human bones and drawn by 6 black horses, so he's pretty, yeah, that's probably a nasty one. Not one to trifle with, that one. Here's the airport. We've got a few more photos to show you before we land, but we're going to have to come back round and do a landing, probably before the weather gets too bad. But the main fairies, the high fairies, are the main ones, like the most powerful Irish Fae folk, if you like. And apparently a lot of Irish people still believe in fairies to this day. But if you come across like a high fairy, they reckon it's possible to cross into the land of the high fairies through, like, for instance, like through holes in hedges, holes in trees,
Kerry Tower Cessna Alpha
like
Sierra
other
X-ray Golf
means.
Sierra is 2 miles northeast, 900
But
feet
if you
with
do
Charlie
visit
to land.
the fairies, right, you've got to be careful, because time apparently doesn't go the same, and it's been said that, like, people who go over there and stay for a single night, when they come back, decades have passed, and all the people they've ever known and loved have passed with the years that are lost. So yeah, be careful if you come across a fairy gathering, or if you see a procession. What you should do really is hide, stay quiet, be respectful, don't follow them into their lands. You know, you don't want to come back like and 50 years have gone by and everyone's dead. So yeah, but apparently they're the most powerful Fae folk of the Irish folk tales.
Clear to land runway 26 Cessna X-ray Golf Sierra.
But I reckon, like, you know, I was saying about the Irish, they reckon that their most richest time was when they was making all that gold and copper and stuff. Never been richer since or after, apparently. Actually brought a lot of wealth into the country as the landing. Here's a couple of more photos for you before we leave. As we're coming down the runway, a bit of tarmac. Here's some old cars. This is wacky races from 1920.
Cessna X-ray Golf Sierra, turn next taxiway.
Here's an interesting one, look. As I'm just going, I've just got to park the plane up. As I show you the last few interesting photos. This one from Waterford, right, taken on the 18th of March 1912. This is literally, I think maybe about a month before the Titanic sank, which left from around the same area as we said before.
Cessna X-ray Golf Sierra, exit runway when able.
Everyday life on the pier around 1890s. Start of the school day, 1880. They're not children anymore, are they?
X-ray Golf Sierra, turn next taxiway.
And this one is of an apple seller in 1900 actually.
Cessna X-ray Golf Sierra, contact ground on 121.6. Cessna X-ray Golf Sierra, did you copy?
Here we are then. Safe and sound. Just in time by the looks of it. It's about to have a bit of a storm, I think. Just about got our flight in time.
Acknowledge last transmission.
Just turn off and
121.6 Cessna X-ray Golf
get this
Sierra.
guy to
Goodbye.
stop shouting at me. Power down. And I'll bid you farewell and thank you once again for flying with me on this flight, and I'll see you on the next one. That was flight 18. To get the computers off, shut down and get ready. I'll be off planning the next flight. Hope you enjoyed that. See you on the next one. Cheers now.